Welcome to the Actionable GTM podcast. Every week we discuss two growth channels with a new guest. And this week we are joined by Amber Branders, who works at the growth division of Oracle. Amber, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. First of all, 4 months ago, I moved from Belgium to Amsterdam to start my professional career, and I'm currently working at Oracle as a business development representative for the enterprise suite, covering the entire Benelux region. And besides that, I'm also part of the Young Oracle Board and Women in Leadership there. And for anyone who doesn't know Oracle, it's one of the world's largest technology companies, focusing on cloud infrastructures, AI software used by most Fortune 500 companies globally. And more recently, Oracle became also a partner in Project Stargate, together with the US government, so companies like OpenAI and NVIDIA, building the world's largest data center. And besides it's crazy. It's crazy. And besides that, I am also one of the founding members of Google developer groups on campus, Leuven. It's actually a global tech community backed by Google, like a student organization. And they have over 2,000 university chapters around more than 100 countries, reaching about 1.2 million students per year.
Thank you so much for providing the nice introduction. Which two demand generation channels would you like to discuss during this episode?
Well, for me, my absolute favorite one, where I will be really focusing on, is conferences, which I think is a very amazing place to meet your prospects and to do lead generation. And besides that, LinkedIn, where you can really engage and really outreach your network.
So let's dive straight into it. Section 1, conferences, the first channel of this episode. If you would be working at a startup, how would you prepare for a conference? Which instructions would you give your team?
What I would really do, if I were preparing, I would really start by aligning my team through a series of triage calls, really before the event, to know, okay, for example, we're attending the World Summit. This means that everyone really needs to be very crystal clear. We need to know if our prospect is standing on the booth. We all need to master our elevator pitch. What are we saying? What do we want to bring? That we all speak the same language, and also that we prepare on answers to the most asked questions, that we are not standing there and our prospects ask us, yeah, but what about this? And that you then, as a contact person, are like, that's a great question. Well, I will know. You need to know the answer and already reach out and know, okay, this team is available, this person, that. Really have a great structure, not only your pitching, but really your company attending on it. And I would also really do, besides your team preparation, also do an attendee preparation. You can really map the attendee list and really identify your high value prospects and reach out to them on LinkedIn beforehand, so that really the right people you want to attract are coming to the booth and you will have the conversation with them. I think that is really important. And then it really becomes to the booth experience. So I'm a big believer that the booth really needs to stand out. Those people come to a conference not for free bottles or free gadgets. They come to learn. And you as a person need to attract, you as a company in the end, need to attract them, that you can learn and help them with their problems and really offer business value to them. And I think that is what, for me, it's really important, that you really make a generative booth. If I would have unlimited budget, let's say, what I really would do is make this kind of a learning auditorium. And I will have sessions every half hour. And I would give them, for example, 30 headsets that you have at the silent disco, that they can only hear the speaker of your founder, director speaking on your solution. And I would pitch it and say, hey, we offer here also a masterclass, let's say on cybersecurity in AI and deepfakes. Would you like to know more about deepfakes and how it is? Well, we give you a whole masterclass on it. And then the founder will give you a masterclass. And in this presentation, you will showcase what current is, in the cybersecurity scene, but also showcase the person listening what your company does and what the business value is. And then afterwards, directly after they hand in the phones, your sales team need to be there. And you say, oh, did you enjoy the class? Okay, you followed it, but are you experiencing? Is it just by interest, or what does your company do? And then really you provided them an activity, a learning experience, and you want to know, focusing on sales techniques like the BAN technique, What is their need? Why are they here? Etc. And then it really goes to, at the end of what I would prepare my team, it really goes down noting this directly in the CRM. We need one person, for example, the HR, who is there, who notes in an Excel or in a CRM system, this person has talked to this person, they would like to have a demo, they would like to have a meeting, this is their need, this is their company, etc. That when your sales team is following up, it would not be like, hey, thank you so much for attending our masterclass. Would you be interested? No, it would be like, hey, Jules, great that we spoke about deepfakes for your specific startup. So let's have a chat and really look what can bring value to you. Really make it a personal experience, not only on the boot, but really on the follow-up as well. And after that, I would always also do again the triage call, really looking at the event. Was it a great investment? Did a lot of people like this? The activity that we provided, was it well received? What were the errors? What was the competition doing? What did we liked about what they were doing? What are things we can improve for that? And then also really focusing with multiple triage calls on seeing, okay, in the end, this event will drive pipeline growth. And did the investment that we put in outscale the pipeline?
So if I recap it very briefly, so you're actually trying to make some lead magnets in the conference itself. So for example, instead of sending an ebook to somebody at a conference, it would be, we are having a presentation and there you have touch points, which means you have, for example, the silent disco headphones that you give a first time, they listen to it while the presentation is going on, and then they need to bring it back. And when they need to bring it back, you actually create this one moment, this additional touch point where you can log all the information that is potentially interesting for this specific lead into your CRM. And then thereafter you have the triage calls. And thereafter, potentially like a week thereafter, you follow up with some relevant information.
Yeah, especially indeed, maybe to align on your first thing, to give you a great example. So I got this in my mind because I attended this actually the World Summit where Google did his own Google Amphitheater. So they gave their 30-minute sessions on marketing AI. It was incredible because they built a whole stand through the Google Amphitheater and prospects could indeed register, then be there. And then the whole sales team, when you came out of it, handed indeed the microphone. They were like, okay, so what did you thought? Why are you here? And you would have a conversation. And I found that a very incredible technique. And indeed, following up on the second one, in sales and especially pipeline generation, it's important to be on the need or the conversation as soon as possible. Of course, that's not always in your hands because sometimes it's through a third party, the organization. But that's why it's so important to have on site your Excel, your CRM, that you can connect on LinkedIn, that you are already actually in conversation and that you don't say after a week when you get the phone number or the email saying like, hey, last week we spoke. No, go directly on LinkedIn and really say, hey, thank you so much for meeting yesterday. It was great. So what was your email again? We can have a meeting. Skip maybe the information that you will get from the conference, go directly into it and keep the lead as hot as possible. And that would be for me, the ideal. These kind of things where you can really learn, have masterclasses, little TED Talks, that's for me super valuable, more valuable than, for example, kind of game that I can play.
At the conference, you leverage this conference to really position yourself as a thought leader. And then if I try to deduct one of the, like a mistake that another company could make is that they just provide a lot, but they don't really capture a lot of data about their leads. What are some other of these mistakes that you see, for example, startups or other corporates make actually at these conferences?
I think really what's super important is using LinkedIn. Personally, this is from my personal example, but really when you're talking to a person and you're already like 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the conversation, they're really interested. They want to have a demo experience. Why would you wait to have their external data? Connect now. Really say, okay, yeah, that's great. You know what? Everyone has LinkedIn on that conference. Okay, so what is your LinkedIn? Okay, great. I will send you a connection. So tomorrow I will send you directly an invitation. That's what I was attending there for my company itself. Most people, of course, it's a very busy scene, but most what they do is they scan, they give a gadget, they talk a little bit. Okay, great. We will follow up. And they don't do the first touch point in a sales cycle. Because in the end, the sales cycle is 7 touch point most. The first one is probably LinkedIn. Some SDRs are doing this after they're receiving the leads after like 10 days. it's important that they do it at the event, right? And besides that, it's also really important that you are really also showcasing your own events, because they can be interested, but maybe the budget is not there or the authority is not there. Okay, no worries. I will invite you and I will keep you hot. I will keep you connected to us. And on a third perspective, what I would really do is really have your laptop have the demo with you. What can your startup do? For example, okay, is your startup a SaaS application and they do this and this and that? Show me now, literally in just a demo, shorter than 5 minutes. Show me a customer example where you have fixed the business need of your customer and explain, let the account executive or the solution engineer, let them explain and let them then say like, okay, so for your business, okay, you need this, you need that. We can adapt this, we can adapt that in our software. Show them your product right away.
And then also be very realistic about the potential of a conference. The potential of a conference is to fill your pipeline. It's not about directly selling. It's about pushing them into your lead funnel and then grow from there onwards. I think a lot of startups make this mistake. They just go there and try to push their product through everybody's throat. Nonetheless, enough about conferences. Let's dive into the second channel of this episode, the ecosystem building. Because in the past, you have built a thriving developers community at Google. Can you walk me through the process of setting up this community and how did this community get off the ground in the first place?
Yes, indeed. So I already gave a little insight, but indeed GDG on campus, it really sits in a very global ecosystem. And these student associations really exist at top universities. For example, the Ivy League schools, they have GDG Silicon Valley, which has around 8K members a year. And what we really wanted actually when starting this community, we really wanted to bring also big tech solutions to Leuven. Leuven has already a very big, I would call it a startup scene, but indeed like a student association scene. And I think a lot of these young potentials would love to internet big tech enterprises.
And then how did you specifically kickstart it?
A very research-driven approach. I really looked into like these successfully chapters. For example, GDG Silicon Valley. I kind of stalked them in a sense, like really like how do they communicate on social media? Like how do they structure their coding workshops? I attended one online there and I attended also one online in India. I want to know, how do they do it? How do they announce their partnerships? What is the wording that they use? What posts had a lot of engagement, did not have engagement? And to really see and feel, okay, what is working in their success that I can bring to here? And from that on, we built, of course, our own USP. We really looked at, okay, our competitors and our current student scene. And we really defined a very clear GDG identity, really confirmed to Google. Because in the end, it is a Google-led community. And I want, when people think of Google, we all know how the Google writing is. We all know the colors that Google use. When I say GDG K Leuven, I want people to have that in their head. All these things, because that's my brand book, that's my identity, and that means that it really comes across. And I'm also a big fan of the elevator pitch. However, most listeners will see I'm a big talker, but I would say to the people, really have the elevator pitch and exactly what does it mean for you? As a customer, as a student, what can we bring? And that is what I found very important. And at the end, what I think really made us successful is I really reached out also to my personal network of people already working at big tech companies and would say like, hey, if you were to go back in time 2 years ago, you're now working at this big tech fan company. What are you searching for when you are hiring an alumni of my student association? What are you searching for? What do you want them that they have learned from it, what activities, which skills do you want them to have? Without GDG, I wouldn't be at Oracle because I already knew what Oracle was or another tech company was expecting from me.
And that is something that, for example, the community really provided its members. It was not just to become part of the Google community, it was more about growing professionally so I can potentially fit actually
exactly
within such a big tech company that you hear a lot about. It's maybe a little bit similar to, for example, people within finance, people in private equity that do a lot of internships to personally grow to eventually then land a job at JP Morgan or one of these players. And then one of the final questions already. If you need to pinpoint one specific thing that really boosted the community's growth, what is this one thing that you should never forget to do? Because otherwise you would potentially not have the growth that you had?
Be attending with as many as possible of your team on every event possible in your region, in where you find your target audience. Be there and have a lot of conversations. Follow on the socials. You already reach much more people than you would maybe do with an Instagram ad, because you have this personal contact, and really like reach out to people. Also on LinkedIn, be like, hey, you have such an amazing profile. Like, we have just founded this community. I would think this would be a very great fit for you. Make it very personal. I think you would be an amazing fit for our community.
So therefore also really like almost prospect potential profiles.
Yeah, exactly.
Because not everybody is aware of it. So instead of just blasting €1,000 through LinkedIn ads, you would just almost spend the same amount of money on prospecting. You put in a lot of time, you reach out to them. We have this kind of event. It's potentially very relevant for your profile. Therefore, I think it would be great if you would come by. And then, of course, be there with as many people as possible from the team. It was super interesting to hear more about how you tackle community development. The last section 3, is rapid fire question. So the first one is, what is your must-read growth newsletter or podcast?
Yes, for me, it's a podcast, and it's Lenny's podcast by Lenny Rashitsky. And I don't know if you know it, but he's the former product lead of Airbnb. And he turned into a creator, and it's now one of the most respected tech growth podcasts in the world. And he really interviews leaders from big tech companies, but also Notion, Klarna, etc., to really break down how these tech companies really grow from product-led strategy to scaling, to retention, to user acquisition. And for me, the things that I'm telling here today is a lot of things I've also learned from him. That sales is the new marketing.
Fully agree with that one. If you would need to focus on one growth channel, which one would it be?
Yes, for me, definitely LinkedIn, for sure. I think people really underestimate the power of simply connecting and starting a conversation with a stranger. LinkedIn is, for me, the one platform where people kind of expect you to reach out. And that makes it such an incredible growth engine. People should really just take the courage and just reach out.
That's interesting also because we are in this age category where I won't say that we are new at LinkedIn, but of course we have been on there for like 5, 6, 7 years. And I do have the feeling that a lot of my friends, they still see LinkedIn as this kind of professional Instagram, Facebook kind of variant. Whereas you don't need to see it just like a friendly place. It's really to grow professionally. It's also to showcase what you're capable of. And I think a lot of people really need to make that shift in their mindset, because LinkedIn is for these kind of things, of course. And I do have the feeling that you're indeed thinking very similarly about that one, about connecting, about growing your network, about potentially spotting opportunities that you would otherwise not have spotted. Final question. Which company do you admire when it comes to growth?
Yes. Totally different than tech. And I don't know if you know it. It's a skincare brand. It's Rhode by Hailey Bieber. They launched in 2022 with only 3 products. And I think it's amazing because they have 3 products, and in just 1 week, they already generated 600K plus person wait list just before the launch. And looking now at 2025, they had a major acquisition by Elf Beauty for $1 billion. So in just literally 4 years, they built from 3 products to $1 billion brand. They really moved extremely fast from this is a celebrity-owned brand to fully community driven, and they paid almost like nothing for traditional advertising. The growth was already organic through social media because it was so high fashion and exclusive that so many people who had it wanted to spread the word and really be like, oh my god, we have these 3 products and it's really changing our skin, etc. I think for a lot of people interested in marketing or sales, this is definitely a brand, not only from brand strategy, but really from sales perspective, you should really look into.
Rhode by Hailey Bieber, right? Perfect. Yes. Then we will definitely have a deep dive into that one, potential next session. All right?
Yeah.
And thank you very much for sharing your insights, Amber. Really, really appreciate it. It was really, really insightful. And let's stay in touch. All right?
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much for doing this. This is super valuable.